Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be doing a commentary on how I practiced and prepared this G major Voxman Etude. If you're viewing this, you are probably in high school taking the all-state trumpet audition in the state of Ohio for 2024. Welcome, I'm glad you're here. I'm just going to run through a little bit of my own experience having practiced and recorded this in the span of 3 weeks, and hopefully give you some useful pointers on what you can do to prepare for this audition. The first thing you're wondering is, what is the deal with these green notes that I have highlighted on the paper? It's actually not a highlighter, it's a colored pencil. I went through when I was studying this and was just having a hard time keeping track of what notes were supposed to be articulated and what notes were inside the slur markings. So I went and highlighted, I keep saying highlighted, I went and colored in green the notes that are meant to be articulated. If you look closely at these slur markings, every note that I put in green, and some of them are kind of hard to interpret, like where exactly does that line end? I don't know. I think it's there on that A. But every note that I put in green is a note that's meant to be tongued. And every note, I didn't do all of them, obviously. Down here, it's just easier to see. And then down here, I didn't do any of them. But my point is, go through and study what the score says before playing this. Take some time to understand what the piece of paper says. Another remark in understanding what the piece of paper says is Google that. Figure out what that means exactly, because it's going to help you figure out how fast or how slow to play this. And I'm going to leave a link in the video description to a really good music dictionary. I'm not going to tell you what that means, but I'm going to leave you a link to how to figure it out and then write in English the translation for what that means. Hopefully you know what a tempo means. Hopefully you know what rallentando means. Next thing worth pointing out, I'm kind of going in a random order here, but with lyrical playing, you figured out this is a lyrical etude already. With lyrical playing, the hardest thing about this isn't anything technical. The hardest thing about it is just like endurance and having the mechanical efficiency to not fall apart. So in this video, I'm actually not going to talk too much about how to do that, because that's the kind of thing that really needs to be sorted out with a private lesson teacher. And if I even attempt to give you advice on how to do that, it's probably not going to be right, because it really needs to be done one-on-one. But what I will say is, if you're practicing your Clark studies and your stamp studies and your Chickowitz, and you're working on flow, and you know what flow studies are, if you're doing that and you understand how and why to do that, then you're probably on the right track towards mechanical efficiency. If you don't know what that means, and you don't know what Clark studies are, or you don't know how to play them, this might be a real challenge here. The next thing worth pointing out is you don't necessarily need to start practicing from the beginning. I mean, obviously when you perform it, yeah, but in your practice, this isn't particularly hard. The thing that I started working on first was what I think is the most difficult segment of the etude, barring maybe the very end. But this is actually kind of hard, because it requires a good deal of flexibility. And so my recommendation for you is practice playing that first thing once you're like fully warmed up and things are feeling really good and nice and loose and relaxed. Train yourself to play just those 2 bars dozens, if not hundreds of times, really relaxed. Play it, rest. Play it, rest, and show your muscles what it's like to play through that really successfully and really relaxed, and build that habit. Instead of, because I mean, the alternative is start at the top every time and then get kind of tired by the time you get here, and then play that tired over and over again. That's not going to be a good idea. You're just going to show your muscles how to be tired and barely surviving. So don't do that. Play it on fresh chops. Same thing goes for these guys down here. This is kind of tough. It really just requires flexibility. It's straightforward. If you're loose and you're in shape, this is fine. But if you're stiff and things aren't vibrating comfortably, this is nearly impossible. So same goes for this. After you've warmed up, take a 5 or 10 minute break, and then just practice playing each one of these. Like play, rest for 10 seconds, play, rest for 10 seconds, play, rest for 10, play, rest for 10. Don't forget to blow through that high note. So maybe it's worth playing this plus that. Again, it's just about showing your muscles how to perform that fresh. Don't show your muscles how to play this tired. Same goes for that. As far as rhythms go, there aren't too many that are that tricky, but this one is worth clarifying. You got dun, 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 da, 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 1, 2, 3, 1. Again, it's gonna go 1, dun, 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 da, 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 dum. A, G, F, E, D, E, F, F. And then this one is also kind of hard. Dun, da, da, dun, da, 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 dum. But I don't think there are too many that are that challenging. It's a lot of ink just because they wrote it in 3/8. It's like they could have written it in a slow 3/4 and just cut the amount of ink they used in half. Oh. Dun, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, E, and a 1. That fooled me a few times. Dun, and 3, and 1, E, 2, and 3, E, and a 1. I'm going in a random order here. Moving on to just phrasing. For me, I prefer having long phrases here in the beginning. I think you have the option to breathe here. You probably won't need to, and musically, I didn't feel like it really needed a pause yet. So I kind of I didn't breathe here and try to just connect that phrase into the next one. It's kind of up to you. Some things are subjective here, but there's a rest there. So in my mind, it's like, okay, show us that there's a pause there and then restart. The second phrase starts here, not here. Same thing goes here. I didn't breathe in here because I didn't feel like it really needed it. This to me, is the end of that phrase. This is one spot where I did breathe, but I tried to make it not break up the phrase musically. Like, I think the phrase starts here and then it goes there. It felt kind of premature to stop the phrase. So sneak in a quick breath and then keep going. And then obviously blow through here. This is the most exciting part of the phrase. We're still kind of going, and then it definitely settles down here, but it's almost like it changes its mind. There's no clear ending to the phrase. It kind of changes its mind and starts ramping back up, and then definitely settles down there. So this is, in my mind, a really long phrase, starting there, ending there. This is subjective. As long as what you're playing is, you've done your due diligence and you've recorded yourself and you feel like what you're doing sounds good, you don't have to do it this way. Well, that's just one interpretation of it. At the end of the day, what matters most about this etude is, like I said in the beginning, mechanical efficiency. That's really what anyone listening to your lyrical playing, that's really what they're listening for. Is this player, do they have a solid foundation of how their embouchure is set up? Do they have a solid foundation of tone production? Or does it sound like they have to fight the instrument every step of the way? So if you have that mechanical efficiency and you've done your due diligence studying the markings in the score, this one will be fine. If there's anything that I didn't cover in this video, there probably is plenty of things I didn't cover because this was just random rambling about how I practice this. If there's anything, anyone has any questions, throw me a comment and I'll see if I can help you. I'm not like actively recruiting new students, but if anyone does want to do a lesson online, I'll leave my information and you can contact me about how to do that. But honestly, there's a lot of good teachers out there, and anyone who can help you figure out just the basics of tone production and the basics of just efficiency on the trumpet is going to be your go-to for succeeding on this one.